Welcome on in, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the WyoNation Roundup. I'm Chad Smith, and tonight I'm joined by Mr. Shea Foster. Good evening, Shea.
Evening, Chad. How are you?
Doing good. We have a whole lot of different Wyoming sports to talk about, and so this is, for the first time, not going to be a full football show, as we've got wrestling and some basketball to talk about.
I know, exciting. It's that time of year.
Yep, and I know Shea is your number one source for wrestling, so we're going to dive into that. And as I said, basketball as well. But we will get to the football because there's a lot to talk about there. So a busy show. Thank you all for joining us. If you are on the Twitter and on YouTube, you can participate in the chat, of course. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that bell. We'll probably announce it next week, but being a subscriber will be key here in the future for a little something we're going to do. So go ahead and subscribe so you know when we're on the air. And yeah, so we appreciate you all joining us. Zachary's already letting us know that he is excited for the basketball season. That's right. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So yeah, lots to talk about. Fall is here. Fall sports are in full swing. And the big thing we want to talk about with who I call Mr. Wrestling is Shea. Tell him about what's going on, what's cooking next week for Wyoming, and why is it special for the wrestling program?
Big importance. Wrestling season doesn't technically start for the NCAA until November 1st. So kudos to Coach Branch. And I don't want to mess up the coach for last name at Campbell. I think Scott Sentes. But they got a waiver. So Halloween, the kids can trick or treat on their own. UFC Fight Pass will be hosting Duel with the Daddy. So they'll be at the arena. Limited fans, I know, but it's a way to probably build both programs because Campbell just got gutted this past week, their wrestling program.
Yeah, it's a terrible story.
Yeah, so, it's good to watch. I hope people at least watch. And last year was such a great event that I think Wyoming was generating some between 1 to 2 million views on Twitter with the duel they had last year in the barn. So it's only going to grow bigger. And I've been trying to help some media around to get Shane Sparks, who's going to be calling it. And ESPN was just in town today. If you follow Rock Harrison, I believe it's at Rock Row, REAX. He has a bunch of videos with interviews with Coach Branch from today.
All right. Yeah, we can maybe track that down and show that on screen so people can follow it. And yeah, no, that's exciting. And so UFC Fight Pass, do we know what the price point on that sucker is going to be?
$9 to watch. And a big thing, Flow Wrestling does all of Wyoming's home duels. Mm-hmm. But last year, or the past 2 years, Wyoming must have done a contract because they were streaming them on the Mountain West Network for free. So you can watch home duels for free.
I didn't know that. Wow.
On the Mountain West Network. So you don't have to have a Flow Wrestling pass to watch unless you want to watch like the big time tournaments or some road duels that Wyoming goes on.
Gotcha. All right. So yeah, so $9 isn't bad on Halloween. Watch a pretty cool event. I know they were doing some promotional pictures that they put out today. They showed the singlet as well as I think a little bit of the arena, right?
Yep. Seems to get started. I think the barn was probably a little too tight for them last year. So I will say both Twitters are very active in talking to each other or making bets. So I tried to make a bet with the Campbell coaches, but I don't think they bid on it. But that's okay.
Okay. So all right. So let's just throw up. They I think yesterday they put this out. Their projected matchups between the two. So yeah, any surprises for you? And I guess which match are you looking forward to the most?
The Molten Volk, they've gone toe to toe a few times, and Volk's beat him. Big story about the Anthony kid is he actually was here at ODU. They canceled their program. He transferred to Fresno State. They canceled their program, and now he's at Campbell, where they just lost 6 scholarships. So,
geez.
You want to root for the kid,
like
not
the Grim
against
Reaper.
Yeah, not against Jory by any means. I'm going to root for Jory, but you still want to root for Anthony having a tremendous season. Stockton O'Brien's a little bit of surprise. He's a Utah Valley transfer, and last year he was up at 141, filling in for Cole Brooks when Cole was hurt a little bit. But
Okay.
he was freestyle down around that weight in the spring, so that's why I kind of figured he was making the drop. They have another kid from Oklahoma State there. And they got some big recruits in, but obviously there's not a reason to start true freshmen because you have Cole Brooks, who's a true freshman last year. You got Gabe, who's a transfer out of Edinburgh. I know he's excited to go back to Happy Valley this year since they're wrestling Penn State, a couple hours from his home.
Okay.
You got an Oklahoma transfer in Jared Hill. He's a NCAA qualifier. Gabe was a qualifier. Cooper Voorhees, his dad was obviously All-American, so you want to see him do well and maybe follow in his dad's footsteps. Riley Davis was a monster last year until he got hurt. Short's a surprise. It makes me think that Ethan Duca, who actually got hurt in this duel last year and missed most of the season, may still be hurt.
Yeah.
And Joey Novak is really good at 197. He gave AJ Ferrari all he could handle. So as a true freshman. And then Sam Mitchell's actually a 197 transfer from Buffalo. So a lot of transfers, which is probably against the Wyoming way. I'm gonna say that Wyoming has never taken transfers on any of their teams until recently. But it's a stout room. You got some young guys that are probably pushing these other guys, which helps. And Campbell's turned over a lot of their roster. Their heavyweights are returning All-American, and Levi Hopkins and Joey Novak have had some really good matches against each other. I believe they're 1-1. So other than that, I think it's a pretty new roster for Campbell and for Wyoming. So last year is kind of out the window of who we're going to compare to.
Okay. And then you can see there Clint did the research for us. Thank you, Clint. So there's the Rock Harrison's Twitter handle if you want to check out his coverage from Laramie today.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, the transfer thing is interesting, but it makes sense, right? Because Wyoming's wrestling program, in terms of all our sports, right, is probably the most nationally prestigious, obviously. So Wyoming wrestling does have that pull where they can go to these schools and kids can know they're going to come and have a chance to play, on a good squad.
Yeah, it's obviously a deep team, and it's surprising. Former Stevie Buchanan, he transferred to Oklahoma. He's now at Iowa, and he's only wrestling the second semester, and they're paying him $500,000.
Yeah.
So the money's out there. So it's cool to see guys like Jory, because I'm sure an All-American he has a price tag. That people were coming after him. So it's good to see kids stay around. And I've talked to multiple people that Wyoming's facilities for wrestling are comparable to the big name programs. So I think once they get the kids here to see Laramie, the Wyoming's wrestling team can be pretty stout for a while.
Yeah, and then obviously Branch, being the guy who's had a lot of success and the personality that he is, brings in some good wrestlers as well.
Yeah, they got a good mix on the wrestling staff. You got two probably outgoing guys, and Devin and McKay, and then you got two quiet guys in Branson and Branch. So it's probably good to even out each other inside the room.
Sure. And then I forgot I was going to ask you another question here. You kind of mentioned depth-wise. Do you see like guys maybe going up or down in weight classes through the season, or maybe somebody who might be a late developer who might be new to the squad who might be able to earn their way into a slot?
There's a couple of guys. Obviously, if Stockton gets hurt, you'll probably see Cooper Birdwell at 133. He's the Oklahoma State transfer. But there's two kids. There's a kid from Nebraska, Jason Alden, I believe. He's a 125, 133. And then there's another kid, Tyson Charmoli. He's a Minnesota kid, 140, 149. I mean, Wyoming is set a little bit this year, so it's good to let them to redshirt, but they have new redshirt rules in wrestling too, where
what are they?
they can it's like they can wrestle 20% of their matches, or like 10 matches or something.
Okay.
So he can Branch has more leeway now to be like, well, I want to see what this guy will do. because it saved Riley last year a red shirt, even though he got hurt. It was so early in the season, it saved his red shirt. And then, which was something obviously they should do for basketball, but you got kids like Sloan Swan who wrestled last year and wrestled in Big 12s and placed, and this year he's redshirting because it makes the most sense with senior guys on the team. So there's a couple of kids out there. I know everybody was excited about the Lane Catlin kid from Gillette at heavyweight, but I think they had a lot of injuries in that weight class last year. So they brought Sam Mitchell in for a 1 year, maybe Band-Aid to let kids get healthy and, build back up. So
Yeah, no, interesting. You mentioned the new rules, right? And it's going to hit every sport. I think redshirt rules are being changed everywhere. So I think basketball, you are going to be able to play a handful of games, right?
yeah,
And then the scholarship limits too. So just for everybody to know, what are the current scholarship limits, and do you know what they're expanding to with the new rules?
it's currently 9.9, which is so weird because you have to have 10 guys to
Yeah.
start a team. And they're going to 30. And obviously, there's probably 4 schools that can give 30 wrestling scholarships.
Yeah.
Penn State, Iowa, Oklahoma State, who hired a Wyoming kid. We won't let David Taylor live that down. And maybe Oklahoma. I don't know. Wrestling is a great sport, but as we saw, Campbell is putting all their money into their football team, which isn't very good.
Yeah.
But their wrestling and baseball team are really good. So, yeah, they can say 30, but Wyoming maybe have the financial base to get to maybe 15. It helps keep guys around like Jory and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or bring some guys in that you normally wouldn't. Because Bryce Meredith, when he first got there, I think he was only getting like a 40% scholarship. So
Sure. Yeah. And that's what people don't know is these sports, you're getting like half scholarships and stuff. So it's good that the NCAA has finally relaxed those, and we'll see.
yeah,
It doesn't stop them from doing half scholarships, but it'd be good to see schools give more full scholarships to these guys.
yeah. Let
But
your math. Yeah.
in terms of your 30, yeah, I don't know. Do you think kids would go to a school that's giving out 30 scholarships? Like you go to Iowa. What are your chances of wrestling if you're on the bottom, right? It'll be like football. You have to wait until you're like a senior to really earn your way up unless you're just amazing.
Well, Iowa lost a bunch of kids this year because Iowa's thing is we got to compete with Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
But Penn State is developing guys. They're getting big time recruits. There's no doubt about it. Kale's doing a
Yeah.
tremendous job. But Iowa's trying to compete with that, where Penn State can develop guys in their room. Iowa's just trying to bring guys in just to simply get second place at NCAA's every year.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe like Oklahoma State, but they brought in a bunch of transfers as well to maybe get the initial going. But I don't know. It's going to be tough, I guess, to kind of see, and maybe kids, but it does help a school like Wyoming. Granted, we're not going to give 30, and we don't have an NIL director for our wrestling team like Penn State does, right? They have a guy dedicated to the team. But if Wyoming can get to 15 scholarships, that's a lot of money. And that 10% can go a long way to, help kids out that are, and this is not a knock on Gabe, but Gabe Wilchello, he's a top 15 wrestler, but he's probably not getting the NIL calls that Jory is probably getting. So how do you help him out in that ways, or help his family out, or Joey, or any of those type of guys? So I hope Wyoming is able to use this new limit in a positive way.
Yeah, no, and they should, right? We have to use the resources they have and the reputation we have to our advantage in this situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know this one is like a special event, which is cool. And I hope everybody tunes in. I'll probably for $9, I'll certainly buy it just to check it out. Other duels on the schedule that people should know about, circle on their calendar.
They're hosting Western Wyoming again this year, which is kind of cool because they got a lot of Wyoming kids on their team. So I think that's a great event for Branch to kind of reach out to. They are facing the juggernaut that is Oklahoma State, who will probably be third place in NCAA's. So we'll see. The Penn State duel will be cool. But they're not at home after this duel and the Western Wyoming duel. They're not home again until the end of January.
Holy moly.
Yeah, so they are on the road for duels and tournaments until January 24th when Utah Valley comes. But Wyoming does finish off a lot of their back into their schedule is at home a lot. So you got the standard. You got West Virginia coming back this year. So it's going to be kind of like a weird year probably for the team, but maybe it works out for them. That on the front end they're loaded with all the travel, and at the end it will be at home, and then their only road duels are like Greeley and stuff like that. So it's probably not as bad, and maybe Branch likes it that way because he talks about how his teams look at the end of the year, and maybe that's why he did it that way.
Sure. Clint's got a question for you. Are they wrestling indoors or outdoors at CFB?
That's gonna be indoors in the arena, Clint, because I don't know. I just saw a tweet from I think it was Jay Jonke. I think there was a Cheyenne school doing a wrestling on their football field, and he's like, it's cold out here and windy. So
Yeah, that's good. All right. Anything else that's on your radar that you want people to know about as this wrestling season boots up?
no, just tune in if you can. If the kids are trick or treating, you have your phone up in front of you. There's plenty of other safety out there. You can watch your kid walk up and down. So it's good for me because my kids will be in bed by the time the duel starts here on the East Coast. So
Yeah.
tune in, and then I'll obviously send the links out when we can for the Mountain West streams for the home duels. So
Cool. All right. And kind of like on the note of you talking about NIL and helping these athletes out, today is Giving Day for UW. I've tweeted out a bunch of links. I think for like volleyball, soccer, wrestling has a bunch today. So if you are thinking about donating to the university, which will directly help the student athletes, it's a good way to do it. You can go to my page at WyoNation blog there and see some of the links. You can go to the website too. I think they have it on there, gowyo.com. But yeah, it's kind of one of their big fundraising days for the athletes. So if you are thinking about helping out our cowboys and cowgirls and the Olympic sports, today would be a great day to donate towards that specific program.
yeah, and they got a lot of matches out there. I saw a lot of big donors. If they get like 60 donors, I think for women's basketball, it was like an additional $5,000 or something. It was a pretty substantial donation that somebody had put forward if they get a number of donors. So
yeah, so I highly encourage you to take a look at that if you are on the fence. And then basketball season, right, is just days away as well.
That's Monday, right?
Yeah, I think it's the 28th, right? Is our exhibition game.
Yeah.
Where Sundance Wicks will be, for the first time, taking the floor with the Cowboys as the head coach. And we sent Brian Stevens there to Media Day, which was yesterday. And so we've got 4 interviews for you. I watched them all. I need to edit them still. But they're pretty clean. So I hope to start posting tomorrow. Should have your first interview up, and we'll have 4. So I'm thinking probably Thursday, Friday. Then we'll let football kind of breathe Saturday and Sunday, and then maybe Monday, Tuesday. Maybe I'll post one on the weekend. But we got 4 videos that we'll get out in the coming days. So stay tuned to the Twitter. Stay tuned to the YouTube channel. Some really good interviews Brian had with the players. And I think overall the vibe with the basketball team is very good.
Yeah, seems like good energy from the videos being posted.
Yeah, and that's every player mentioned it, right? So that's no surprise. They all mention how much energy Sundance has, and they say, hey, if you want to be on this team, you got to match his energy. So
good luck to him.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. We'll see how they think about that come February, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we look forward to that. And then I didn't see this because I was busy in work most of the day, but they did drop the first episode of, I guess, Inside Wyoming Basketball or whatever it's called, the docuseries, and they wanted to do this with so many new guys so the state of Wyoming could get to know these players. So, yeah, I'll probably be watching as much of that as I can tonight after this show. So we'll have more basketball coverage with Brian. Brian's all into the basketball, so it's good. So we got Shea, the wrestling guy, and then Brian's into the basketball, and then Brad and I with the football. So it's a good balance for everybody.
Something every week.
Yep. So we'll see how these players look on the floor and maybe an idea of what rotations are going to look like. It's all going to be new, and it's very interesting. Oh, Bruiser's in. What's going on, man? We're talking about some wrestling. You missed it if you just arrived. I would watch the replay after we're done. Shea's been given the deep dive into the wrestling, which is really cool. And we just talked about basketball media days, which wrapped up. And I haven't got to see too many other interviews or stuff that people had from yesterday. They're probably still in the process, like me, getting it all packaged up.
Keith had 2 interviews on his show
Today?
One yesterday and one today from his stuff. So I encourage you guys to go over to his website and listen in.
Yep, KFBC Radio. If you're not aware, Keith, obviously being the voice of the Cowboys, gets to talk to at least a couple players or coaches every week. He has them on his regular daily show. So if you go to KFBC Radio, he posts audio of all those interviews from his show, which is great. So if you're not watching that already, that's another great source to hear straight from the coaches and the players.
Yeah. So
who did he have on?
What's the kid's last name? Starts with an O. Is that the O-N? I don't know how to say his last name.
The French kid?
I think he had the French kid on. And it sounds like all the media members, to include Brian, all interviewed kind of a different... It's like the whole team got interviewed.
Yeah.
So, I hope everybody reaches out to all the media sources, because you're really going to get you can really meet the team through all the, the different media types. So,
no, it's really good. Yep. So I'm glad Brian was able to make it out there. So, yeah. All right. Well, we're 20 minutes in or so, and now we got to go to the elephant in the room, right? Which is just staring us in the face.
Yeah.
Which is the football team and the football program, and the developments have happened there after the loss to San Jose State. I guess the first thing is, how about the crazy part where they got robbed at halftime, which is wild.
I can't. I still offered up my services to help.
You did. I saw. Yeah, you're sleuthing and trying to find devices and such.
Yeah, I would have helped, but Coach Chauvel, shout out to him. He hasn't given in to my request to make somebody's life miserable through electronic means. But it is what it is. I'm sure their lawyers are like, absolutely don't do that. So it sucks for the players. You feel bad for them, and you expect to go somewhere safe. You feel like that's a safe space, and somebody's, intruding on your personal time.
And you're hearing more and more about it.
Yeah.
These things happening, especially in California. So
no surprise.
Yeah.
I lived there. No surprise.
Yep. And then they still haven't posted Monday's press conference, unfortunately. So I haven't been able to listen to it. But I guess the main news coming out of Monday is that Evan Svoboda is still probably going to start this weekend against Utah State, but they are going to carve out some packages and some series for the backup and Caden Anderson.
I wonder if this is going to be Glenn's last year. Remember they were rotating like 4 quarterbacks?
Yeah.
I don't want it to be like that. I'd rather have one get 2 series, the other get 2 series. So that way it's not like, oh, you've had your series and now you're sitting down,
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows how that's going to look, but I just find it interesting because I think it's pretty clear at this point in time that you're not going to see a whole lot of improvement from Svoboda. I looked at a stat this week that I posted on Twitter. I didn't even know this. We are second to last in the country in offensive yards per play, which is abysmal. We're 133rd in the country in yards per play. Now, again, that's not all Svoboda's fault. And and I've said this time and time again, but I'll say it. No one's attacked me saying I'm against them, but I'm just saying the coaches are the ones who are putting them in a position to fail. And that's why I think if you're going to go to the backup, you need to be fair to him. Give him all the reps and let Anderson go play.
Yeah.
He may learn, he might make mistakes, but he may learn from them. So far, Svoboda hasn't learned from his mistakes, just like the whole team hasn't been learned from their mistakes, and they haven't been coached to improve on their mistakes. The most concerning thing to me is the mistakes we're making in game 1 and 2 are mistakes we're still making now. And that's 100% on the coaches and nobody else. They can say, hey, the players have to execute better, but whose job is it to make sure they execute or they are able to, right, learn the techniques, learn the style of play that you want them to do? If you can't communicate them to do that, that's not on the players, that's on you. You're the coach.
Yeah, I forget what happened, but Jalen Sargent was like the 12th man on a field, and the coaches were yelling at him, and I was like, "That's your fault. Your poor substitutions led to that, not Jalen. That's your fault because you guys want to sub at like 15 seconds thinking you're going to outdo them.
Yeah.
Just put your players on the field and let them play. Don't try to outthink them."
I know. I think that, and that's part of the problem with the quarterback position too, is they're not getting lined up until a lot of the times with 5 seconds left on the play clock.
Yeah.
You're giving your quarterback no time to look at the defense and say, okay, what am I dealing with here? It's snap the ball, hope that it's a good snap, right? Which it was pretty good against San Jose
Lately, it's
State.
been pretty good. He has done really
But
well.
it's
lately.
just things like that. Line up, get the play in, especially with having helmet communication. It makes no sense how we're so late. And that, again, that's 100% on the coaches. The coaches are failing the players. But I haven't heard the media ask him once, why are the plays getting in so late? How come we're lining up with 10 seconds left? You're making subs with under 10 seconds. It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, I tweeted out, just make the coaches run stairs because they're the ones failing.
Yeah.
But hey, he opened up practice yesterday. You guys, we never saw that. So
Yeah.
maybe the game's too fast for Evan right now in the game. And you look at this scenario when
Mhm.
Tyler Vanderwall was struggling, Wyoming was like 2-5 or something, and they pulled him and they brought in Chambers.
Yeah.
And then Chambers gets hurt, and then Tyler's like a different quarterback when he comes back in. And maybe Evan just needs that. Evan just needs to be totally benched.
Yeah. Because right now you're running like one of the worst offenses in the country. Did you also see it's absolutely horrific, the offensive and defensive efficiency
Oh, yeah.
advanced stats I put out? We're one of the worst, what was it, 5 teams in the country in both of those metrics. That's insane.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on with Wyoming's defensive ends, but they were supposed to be like a vaunted group, and I don't think they're ever getting to the the quarterback besides Harsh.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but I'm of the opinion that this season's been an unmitigated disaster. And now really the only job of these coaches right now is to find out who's going to be able to play for this team and be productive next season. Right? Give the seniors their run out, right? Try to win games for them because they've done so much for this program. But you need to find who can play for you next year because you can't have another season like this because you're going to be out the door.
especially with your AD without a contract, that's probably weighing on some people as well. Internally.
Perhaps.
So
Let's see. Bruiser says, agree with Shea. The only real defense what is seen is in his own practice. He's not been able to process real-time situations. Yeah. That could be part of it. 100%.
Evan just seemed like a different quarterback last year because there was no pressure on him.
Exactly. And that's not new, right? How many times have you seen a backup? He comes in, like a guy gets hurt. You don't have time to think about what you're doing. You're just playing football. And so maybe it is, he's the pressure, right? The pressure of the moment.
And he's got a lot. He's team captain. Now he's a starter. And now your team captain is. I liked what I saw from Caden in the San Jose State game. He just seems calm.
Mm-hmm.
And that one interception he threw, the offensive line hung him out to dry when he got blasted.
Yeah.
And he's in a situation where Wyoming has to throw the ball, and
Yeah, they know that
yeah,
he has no choice but to chuck it.
so I would like to see probably some young guys at running back, because after what Farrell did, I don't want to see Jamari. With that type of attitude on it.
Exactly. With these, especially if you get into these last 4 games, right? Where are we going to number 7 or number 8 here? Must be 7.
Yeah, we're 1-6 going into the 8th game.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so after this next game, if you got freshmen who haven't played, they can play in the last 4, and you need to play them to see what you got. It would make zero sense unless they're just physically not like ready to play Division I football. But if you got kids who are physically ready to play, I hope we see some freshmen out there, because again, you have to evaluate who can you go to war with next season.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to probably see some probably freshman linebackers, maybe, because you're without your starters next year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Savell's crying this year about how many starters they lost when they only lost like 6 or 7. We're losing more than that this year.
Yeah.
And that's before any potential portal activity, just from graduation. So I'm kind of concerned, because if he's complaining about what we lost last year, well, you're losing more this year. So again, it's on you as the coach.
Yep.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about the running game, Bruisers. So that is a good segue into this weekend's game. Utah State comes to town, and believe it or not, Wyoming is favored by 2.5.
That's home field points.
It is home field points, but Utah State's defense is horrendous. They are the second worst in the country in terms of points. Let me get the exact number for you. It's pretty wild. They are giving up, let's see, this is the right one here. They are giving up 43.9 points a game, which is, I do believe it's either last or second to last. Hold on. It is 133rd.
Yikes.
They give up 2 points less than Kent State's giving up 45.9 a game, which is crazy. So again, if Wyoming can't score points against Utah State, not going to score points against anybody.
Yeah, they got the worst defenses coming up these last games, minus Boise.
And Clint, good point. Yes, North of Texas had a terrible defense as well, and we didn't do too well. But the good news is Utah State's rush defense. Oh my goodness. How about these numbers? Let me get them up here again. They are 131st in the country in rush defense, giving up 239 yards a game.
Yeah, this Sam Scott better have a day.
So I would expect to see Sam Scott getting a lot of carries. Svoboda, obviously, in the quarterback run game. This is where you have to rely on the run. Hammer that running game. And they have, to their credit, right? Even last week, they ran the ball, I think, 38 times, but they only averaged like 1.6 a carry.
Well, when you run the ball for 14 yards and then get a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct, that will do that -1 rushing yard pretty quickly.
That's true. So let's see. Bruiser says, hell, we got 4 turnovers last week and couldn't score. I know. Yeah. So again, if this offense can't score against Utah State, I don't know what to tell you. We've only scored over 20 points once the entire season, and that was in our lone win. Yeah, here we go. Clint says rushing. That means a gap from the pistol on 3rd and 1. Yes. Yeah, hopefully we see the end of that as well, right? These are just simple things they can do to help out their own players. I don't understand running out of shotgun when you're a power running team.
Well, it's clear that Evan doesn't know, or he's not hearing the plays right, because that one play out of shotgun, he turned the wrong way.
Yeah, he did that twice.
Yeah.
And I think Savell mentioned that he did it on the first play of the game. I don't remember that.
I don't remember.
But that was a quote. Yeah, somebody had the video, and he was like, "Yeah, Evan turned the wrong way on the first play," and I'm like, "Well, yeah. Well, how does that happen? The first play, he doesn't even know what's going on the first play."
Yeah, maybe the game.
Wow.
Maybe in practice he's doing fine, but when those lights get on him, he's a different.
Jet sweep. Yeah. I don't. Someone did tag me on Twitter, and I'll say this. So I remember in the preseason, or maybe the summer, right? Savell, one of the big quotes that I was like, "Yes, this guy gets it." Was he said, "Hey, we're going to identify our playmakers, and then just find any way possible to get them the ball." And we're not doing that, and that's why we're losing games. Again, Gillenborg should be getting 10 passes a game, not like deep seam stuff. That's seem the only one. Use them underneath, run slants, run underneath routes.
TK, Krister.
There's
that one
plenty
PI
of
penalty. Alex Brown was even close to be open. He's never there's always a defender on him.
Yeah. So again, this is what all I want to see. Adjustments. If you keep running the same plays and the same offense and using the same players, of course you're not going to see improvement. You need to do something different. So hopefully we see it against Utah State at home. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to hold my breath.
I guess we'll see. I think Hayden may not, Jay said that Caden doesn't offer up the running game probably as much as a quarterback, but
sure.
You look at those stats in high school, and I know it's high school, but he's clearly a game manager. And maybe that's what Wyoming just needs right now.
Yeah. No, and that's if you can run the ball, that's what you need, right? And I think the coaches are enamored with Svoboda's, they call it talent, but it's his God-given physical abilities.
Yeah.
But like I said before, it doesn't matter if you can throw the ball 80 yards if you only complete 1 out of 20 of those passes. Yeah. It doesn't really do you much good.
He's super late to the receiver. Like Pellissier, when he threw him out of bounds, was wide. I mean, wide open. There was nobody there. So
it's just stuff like that. So that's why I'm kind of disappointed. If you're going to make a QB change, just make the change. Give Anderson a chance. See what he looks like with full reps. Build in packages that fit him. And I don't know. Maybe they're just, I don't know. I don't know what they're scared of. Oh, here we go. Clint's got a good one. Over under on 1.5 flea flickers. Yeah.
If the run game is going well, you may actually see the flea flicker here because it
probably there's a good chance.
It makes the most sense. Why not? If you're running well, the flea flicker is going to be a killer.
That's pretty good. You guys are funny. Yeah. So I mean, that's what I'm looking at. I do believe it's a 5 p.m. kickoff on CBS Sports.
Yeah.
So should be good. Weather looks good so far. So should be a good crowd, hopefully, and some good weather, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, Wyoming's offense has got to get right, and Utah State's defense is pretty bad. But on the other side, I think their offense isn't.
They're good on offense.
Isn't super terrible.
Wyoming gets Isaac White back, and their quarterback likes to throw interceptions as well.
Yeah, let's see here. Let's look at scoring offense in the Mountain West. Utah State, where are they? 6, so they're dead middle, but they're averaging basically 28 a game.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's what Wyoming's going to have to get to win this game, and I don't know. Right? I have no idea. Let's see. Bruiser says our receivers just don't know how to leverage a route. No reason our tight ends can't get open across the field. Would love to take it. Yeah. They seem to be in love with the vertical passing game. It's like early vegan all over again.
But vegan had the receivers that could get open.
That's true.
All the time.
That could, yeah.
And a better wide receiver coach.
7 says the 2 QB system sounds like Savell trying to save his job. Well, maybe. I don't know.
I think his job's okay unless Berman doesn't get renewed. Then Savell may be in trouble.
Yep. And I've said that multiple times, right? He's not going to go anywhere unless the AD does, which is possible, but not likely. TG says projected attendance. I don't know. Usually you kind of hear. It might be a little down. We'll see how broken down the fan base is.
22, I'm guessing. If the
Yeah.
weather's nice, you'll pull a decent Cheyenne and Laramie crowd.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so hopefully we see something different. Hopefully Anderson does really well, right, and gives them something to think about, and then maybe they switch to him. It's just my thing is he might have the ability to learn from his mistakes, and that's what you got to do. You got to figure out who your quarterback is next year, because if you don't see significant improvement from Svoboda, you can't go into next season with him as your starter.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do it. And chances are our quarterback next year may not be on the roster right now. But you got to find that out at every position, right? You got to see who can play football at this level. So hopefully they're smart enough to do that. As I said, especially after we get past this game to where you can start playing freshmen and not worry about redshirt status. So anything else on that, Shea?
No, I would like to see our punter maybe do some stuff because he didn't exactly have the best game. So I'd like to see our transfer punter. I would rather see him not punt, but if he's going to punt, I would like to see not a 30-yard punt.
Yeah, and that's another thing maybe they need to, right? He's going to be gone. I know we have another punter on the roster. He may not be great, but maybe you need to start getting live reps with another guy to see what's going on there.
Yeah. Well,
So
guess we'll see on Saturday evening what comes.
there is a lot there. So, all right. And then now we will wrap up with some news this morning from Brett McMurphy about Mountain West expansion. We haven't watched it yet, 7.
Yeah, we have not.
We plan on watching it tonight. So it sounds like you might have. So tell us about it. Is it well produced, I guess? Is it a quality video? Let us know if you watched it.
Not to watch it tomorrow.
Yeah. So Brett McMurphy this morning is reporting that talks with Grand Canyon is heating up as them joining the Mountain West as a basketball member, which is good. Wyoming's played them, I think, 2 of the last 3 years. And so I think that would be an excellent add to the conference as a basketball team. And I think what they're trying to do is if we could get to, I guess it'd be 10 members in each sports.
Yeah.
That gives you 9 football games, and then that gives you 18 basketball games home and away. And I think that is the model they're looking for. So, because I think if we added Grand Canyon, that would put us at 9. We'd be 1 short. And then so maybe you get St. Mary's somehow, and that gives you 10 basketball schools. And I think that's a pretty solid basketball league. I don't know what St. Mary's is going to do. I would imagine that they probably want to get out of there with Gonzaga leaving.
Well, Grand Canyon is supposed to go to the West Coast Conference next year as well. This is their last season in the WAC, so it's interesting to see how this goes. But St. Mary's may want to come to the Mountain West because they don't want to be under – they're not going to get full share Gonzaga's getting.
No.
So, I don't know.
So, yeah. So, I think maybe that's the plan. And there's other schools that the Mountain West can target basketball only. That would be appealing. But I think St. Mary's would be great. And supposedly they're still in play for the Pac-10, but I doubt that. I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah, I saw the report today. The Pac is now trying to reach out to Texas State, and I don't know, some of those schools, they got it pretty good in the AAC, and that's why those schools aren't leaving. They're getting $10 million a year.
Exactly.
And now you're going to leave for a conference with no media rights?
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, so that's the tough situation they're in. So I think the Mountain West is trying to get to 10 schools in each. And then that brings me to football. McMurphy still says the Mountain West is still talking to Northern Illinois and Toledo to come over as football only, which I know Northern Illinois is really interested, but I haven't heard anything about Toledo.
Yeah, Toledo's been pretty quiet. I think NIU is going to come. I think they're going to – their probably sticking point is trying to find a home for their other teams.
Mm-hmm.
But you got Horizon, you got the Summit League right there. I mean, you got leagues that would probably take a big program like NIU and some of
Yeah,
those
Missouri
sports.
Valley, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously options there that they probably elevate any conference that they go to, but
Sure.
they're making what, $800,000 a year on their media deal. So
Yeah.
even if the Mountain West gets 4 to 5, it's a
Yeah, they're like
significant.
quadrupling it.
Yeah, and it's only 4 road trips for
Yeah.
their football team.
And
So
I'd imagine they'd get maybe not a full share, but pretty close to it as football only.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure how the media stuff would play out.
So I think, yeah, if NIU makes the jump, it makes it easier for Toledo to do it as well.
That would put all the time zones. The Mountain West would literally cover the United States.
3 time zones for sure. Yep.
Yeah, I think Toledo's Eastern.
Oh, you're right. It is. I forgot about that. Yep. It is.
So you add like a Grand Canyon, you're in a pretty good spot travel wise for a lot of people for basketball as well.
Yeah, and St. Mary's obviously still in the footprint. So, and then I think that gives you a pretty strong 10-team league in both men's basketball and football.
Yeah, like I said, Colorado State and Utah State can come back to the Mountain West, but leave Boise State and San Diego State out there to fend for themselves when this implodes again.
We'll see what happens. I heard that the Pac-12 they struck some media right deal or some group. It seems really weird, like with whoever does like some kind of martial arts online or something.
I'm telling you, they're going to go to Apple TV again, and they're going to
Yeah.
get decent money, but they're not going to be on linear TV.
No.
And that means I can't go over to the sports bar across the street from my house and rip a Busch Light and watch the game. And I think people are missing out on the fact that linear TV expands your brand. So
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. So it's the conference wars are still battling. I don't know if we'll hear much news about stuff. I think probably at this point, probably after football season is when you'll start seeing movement again.
yeah, I mean, I think you see Grand Canyon move probably soon.
Oh, sure, yeah. So we'll implode once the Pac finds out they aren't getting money. Yeah, I don't know. It very well could, but they certainly think that they're going to get $10 million a year, which I'm like, all right, good luck with that.
They might get it, but I don't know at what cost they're gonna do it. So
I did see that Oregon State filled out their schedule for next year.
Yeah, Washington State twice in 2 weeks.
Yep. So yeah, they're playing. They've announced a deal to play each other home and home, which I think they're doing this year too, right?
No, not this year.
No.
Mountain West saved them from doing
They
that.
weren't able. Okay, yeah. Mountain West saved them. They should remember that, but they didn't, unfortunately, because they wouldn't. As I said many times on the show, they wouldn't have been able to field teams this year if it wasn't for the Mountain West. So
yeah, I also saw something that Wyoming is heavy on a game right now, or short a game because of what happened. So I think Wyoming might be looking for a game next year.
okay, I haven't seen that.
I saw something. I'll have to look it up, but it was showing teams that needed a game and teams that needed to get rid of a game.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's something I can dig into. We'll see what's going on there. But yeah, so that's basically it. Nothing going on, right?
nothing. We got we got football Saturday, we got basketball Monday. Thursday we got wrestling. When's women's basketball start? Their non-conference was kind of disappointing to me, their schedule, but
yeah, I could look that up really quick so everybody knows.
They're picked second in the Mountain West, so good for Heather.
Second in the Mountain West, and got the preseason player of the year.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We're in the Cowgirls kickoff. Cross country is it ranked? I saw that this week.
It's a good time for the non-revenue sports, I guess.
Here we go. Schedule for women's basketball. Let's see here. Says, okay, so November 1st, they have an exhibition against Chadron State.
Oh, Friday night?
And then they kick off their season against Colorado at home.
Oh,
on the 4th of November. So there you
not
go. That's
bad
the
at all.
first home game right there against CU. Yeah. And then they travel to BYU. And then they play Regis at home. What other games they got at home here? Go to Gonzaga on the road. Well, and then they're going to a tournament in Puerto Rico and around Thanksgiving.
Gonzaga got Chad Muma's sister going to be playing against her former team.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it looks like the home schedule's not great, but the road schedule's pretty strong for the Cowgirls.
Yeah, that's good. They got to go to Puerto Rico. Good for
And
them.
they got to go to Puerto Rico and play
Experience.
3 games.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, Clint.
decent week next week. Starting Saturday, it's all going to start coming full send for us.
That's right. So, yeah, so we'll have a show next week, probably after the basketball game. We'll have some ideas what's going on there. Should have a post-game show on Saturday for you for football. So, yeah, we'll try to keep up with it all, but it's a fun time of the year, and we appreciate everybody hanging out with us tonight. Any last words, Shea?
No, hope you guys have a good night, and whoever's traveling to Laramie, have safe travels on Saturday.
That's right. Yeah, and then if you missed the beginning, and be looking out on the YouTube channel and on Twitter. We've got 4 basketball interviews coming your way. Hopefully the first one posting tomorrow. So, yep, some good content coming to you from WyoNation. So, all right, for Shea, this is Chad. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Catch you all later.